Welcome back to the video tutorials for Deepblocks Developer product, where we draw our parcel and then are able to do a quick feasibility analysis of the drawn parcel. So in this case, I've drawn my parcel. We're now going to focus on the 3D model. That's what this tutorial is about. So I'm going to click on feasibility study, select retail. Let's start with an FAR 6. That's fine. And remember, for this product, you're responsible for understanding the zoning parameters. This is almost like having an Excel or SketchUp product, but a lot of the things are automated. So for example, for the 3D model, we always want to start by selecting our setbacks. In this case, we have a frontage. We'll call that the frontage. We'll call this secondary. We'll call this a side. And we'll call this rear. Usually, per zoning requirements, you have when you have a frontage and a secondary frontage, the two are sides, but I like to have a different setback parameter for each side so that I can adjust my setbacks individually if I wanted to create a kind of more creative tower. So now I have my four sides selected. Other things that to notice here in the setback mode is that when you adjust, the footprint will change. The footprint is the darker red. And you can see the footprint of that floor level or that floor plate as a result of the setbacks. The other thing that you could do is the same as you had like in draw parcel. You could draw different, let's say you were trying to see how many units can be fit here. And in this case, if it's messing with you, you could always, let's see, we're going to adjust this. We're actually going to leave room for a little, and then we can move it back up. And now I'm going to make a copy of it so that I can see what it would be like, how many we can fit in there. Whoop. And likewise, we could use this to measure. So when I'm creating or if I'm editing, you can see that the area is 2,200 square feet. So this would be like a 2,200 square feet apartment. And then I have 14 feet hallways, which is way too much. But this is just to give you an idea. So if I had ginormous hallways and there we go, maybe we could assume that there's some kind of stairwell somewhere, and these could be adjusted. So you could fit essentially 10 units in this floor plate. So you could do that on any floor if you wanted to do. This will be my lobby, and this will be my typical floor. So out of setback mode, now we have all our setbacks, and we could say, okay, I need a 10-foot setback in the front, which I believe we made the front this side. And let's say we needed 5 feet on the sides and secondary front, just as a. Now we can add our parking. Let's say you knew that the parking requirements was 1.5 spots per unit and 3 spots per 1,000 square feet of retail, which is pretty common. If the parking is a different math, you could do the math and enter the appropriate amount. And then now we want to say, okay, this is going to be my parking plinth. I like to keep my parking in the first 3 floors. So I'm going to accommodate my retail so that my parking is reduced. And again, this model is not an architectural model that doesn't place the retail, the parking, or anything where it's necessarily supposed to go. It's supposed to give you a broad idea of the area. So now we have 3 floors of parking with some retail, about almost 5,000 square feet of retail. Yeah, 5.5. And now I want to create a setback after the 3rd floor, so on my 4th floor, so that I could do a tower with some, so I could have some amenity space and I could have a nicer tower. So as I change this, I can adjust all the minimums and maximums to give myself some wiggle room here. And this is going to be my tower. And it gives me down here my assumptions floor, my number of floors, my total units, my FAR. So even though this does not have your city's requirement per se, this product, you would need the Deepblocks Pro product to have all this data. Once you understand this data from your city, you can model it and it will tell you how far you are from those calculations. So if you had an allocation of 130 units, you can change the units here. And each use will have different assumptions that are specific to those uses. For example, any kind of unit-based uses like condo, multifamily, hotel will have the units, type of units, unit size, amenities, operating expenses, vacancy, and so on. Let's raise our rents here to more like 3,200. Now we're seeing our return on cost change. So anything you change in the model will likely have an effect on your return on cost. And the idea is for you to understand approximately what can I fit in this space, what can I fit in this site and the building and the floor plates, and does that work with my financial projections? So that's the 3D model. And again, you can model condominium, hotel, office, industrial, all of the above in the same model, or just one at a time and see what would be the best fit for any particular site. Let's say this is office and industrial. So with that, I will move on to go a little bit deeper into the assumptions panels and continue with the tutorial series.